I can prove that you have a purpose. My promise to you is that if you give me this whole video, that it will change your life. Here we go. In the fall of 1944, Austrian psychologist Viktor Frankl arrived at Auschwitz, which was the infamous Nazi concentration camp that was responsible for killing around 1.3 million people throughout World War II. Upon arrival, inmates were evaluated based on their physical capabilities. Those deemed fit, as the Nazis saw it, were sent to the right. Those deemed unfit were sent to the left, and it was later discovered that those sent to the left, including many women, children, and elderly individuals, were led to gas chambers where they were killed. Those lucky individuals that were sent to the right, including Frankl, were used as slave laborers. The Nazis' goal was to utilize every last bit of muscle and energy these people had until they died of exhaustion, starvation, sickness, or suicide. If there is hell on earth, then this was it. Frankl wrote about his time as a concentration camp prisoner and summarized his observations in his worldwide bestseller, A Man's Search for Meaning. In it, he introduced logotherapy, which is a school of psychotherapy that describes a search for meaning and life's purpose as the central human motivational force. This was Frankl's life's work, and it was shaped by his experience having endured the most extreme suffering a human being could ever face in a Nazi death camp. Again, literally hell on earth. Through his unique perspective as a psychologist, Frankl's observation of concentration camp life, particularly his insights into the mind of people going through some of the most extreme suffering that human beings have ever experienced, reveal the truth of just how important having a purpose is to our existence. In fact, Frankl argued that we cannot live at all without a purpose, using the concentration camp, as he wrote, as his living laboratory and testing ground. Frankl found that those individuals who knew that there was a purpose or a task waiting for them to fulfill were the most apt to survive a concentration camp. On the contrary, those individuals who saw no sense in life, no aim, and no purpose, and therefore no point in carrying on, he wrote, were soon lost. Those individuals who lost sight of their purpose, their reason for living, died quickly in the extreme conditions of a concentration camp. Purpose is what allowed camp prisoners to overcome the pain, hunger, sickness, suffering, loss of dignity that they were experiencing. They had their eye on something else and saw that what they were enduring was just simply their cross to bear at the moment. Frankl quotes Nietzsche, who says that he who has a why can overcome just about any how. Outside of a concentration camp, we have more room for error. Purposelessness does not kill us quite as fast, but there are symptoms of what Frankl calls an existential vacuum. This is a state that individuals and societies experience when they are void of purpose and meaning in their life. Frankl describes this vacuum as one where rates of anxiety, depression, drug use, suicide, and rampant sexual activity is very high. I'm going to read off some statistics. The U.S. Census Bureau says that 1 in 3 adults suffer from anxiety and/or depression disorders, and that includes almost half, 48.9% of people under 30 are experiencing anxiety and depression disorders. According to the CDC, drug overdoses among people under 30 have doubled since 2019, which is the highest percentage of this type of death ever. 1 in 8 Americans uses some form of illicit drugs every single day, and we know that hookup culture and the sexualization of our culture is rampant. The data point to what Frankl observed. We are living in an existential vacuum. We are here and suffering psychologically in this mental health crisis because we have forgotten that we were made for a purpose. We were wired and designed for a purpose. Your life matters. You are needed, and I'm going to prove that to you right now. Have you heard of Thomas Aquinas's arrow and the archer example? Aquinas is one of the most influential theologians and philosophers to have ever lived. His ideas shaped Western culture. He argued that unintelligent objects have no inherent ability to move toward a purpose on their own. For example, an arrow does not have the ability to pick itself up and fling itself toward a target. No, the arrow must be directed toward that target by an intelligent source that has a purpose for the arrow. In this case, that's the archer. The archer directs the arrow toward the target for his or her own purposes. Another example, a piece of wood cannot pick itself up and start building a house. It is used for the purpose of the builder. Why is this important? Well, we live in a universe of unintelligent objects. And the crazy thing is that these unintelligent objects all serve some purpose, it seems, of maintaining and supporting life. In fact, the more that science discovers about our universe and how everything was created, the more baffled they are about how it seems everything seems to have been designed perfectly and everything serves or moves towards some purpose. The American physicist and philosopher Robin Collins uses the example of a ruler, a massive ruler stretched all the way across the universe with billions upon billions of inches placed upon it, like the tiniest little increments. Each fundamental parameter that is necessary to support a life-supporting universe is placed perfectly upon its own little inch mark upon this massive ruler. And even if you adjusted one of these parameters by 1 inch, remember, there are billions and billions of inch marks on this ruler. So even one slight adjustment, 0.0000000%, like the tiniest little adjustment, would have a dramatic effect. In fact, it would have a catastrophic effect on our life-supporting universe. For example, if Jupiter weren't where it was, keeping comets and other hazardous space material away from us, Earth would get clobbered with all sorts of space junk, which would make it very difficult for life to exist. Mars, Venus, and the moon all take shots for us too. Next time there's a full moon, take a look at the moon's surface and then remember to maybe say thank you. Also, if the Earth did not orbit the sun in a near perfect circle, which is made possible because of the effect of Jupiter's elliptical orbit, it would be subject to major variations in surface temperature and climate, which would be detrimental to life. Earth is also the perfect distance from the sun in order to support plant and animal life. Any closer, and all of the water would evaporate and the oceans would boil, like on Venus, for example. Any further away, and Earth's atmosphere would need more carbon dioxide to trap the sun's radiation and keep water in liquid form. However, if that happened, there wouldn't be enough oxygen to support animal life. Our sun is perfect, the moon keeps us stable, Earth's atmosphere contains just the right amounts of carbon dioxide, oxygen, and nitrogen. Plate tectonics and volcanic activity work just right. The oceans and continents are all in the right places. Earth's magnetic field protects us. Earth is also in the right type of galaxy, positioned in the perfect place within it. I just named only about 10 of the 200 known parameters that a planet needs in order to support life. Remember the arrow. We have all of these unintelligent objects which are subject to laws which govern them. They abide by these laws, it seems, for the purpose of supporting, maintaining, and evolving life. Each and everything within our universe has a duty and obligation to contribute what it has to offer, and that contribution is judged based upon its output. Everything is expected to serve a purpose. Let me explain. The leading theory about how life came about in our universe we call evolution. This creative process eventually created a conscious creature, which is us, and this is where things are right now. The latest of evolution is the present moment, and right now we see that things have led to an intelligent, conscious, self-aware creature called a human being. The creative process of evolution fundamentally works like this: the creation of a variety of output. Each output's characteristics are identified and then selected as either beneficial or detrimental. Those selected or judged as beneficial are increased. Those selected or judged as detrimental are decreased. Many variation of species or characteristics of species come about, and selection determines which are increased or decreased based upon their output and contribution to progress life, survival, or evolution. The species that are selected as beneficial are increased. Those that are not are reformed or removed. We know the species at the top of the food chain, and we know the species that have gone extinct. Survival of the fittest simply means selection of those output that are beneficial to developing and continuing life, which is the purpose of evolution. This same fundamental process, this structure, applies to all of creation. According to a study conducted by NASA, there are at least 100 billion planets in the Milky Way galaxy, and they think that there are at least 100 billion, I guess that's just the number they throw out there, galaxies in our universe. There could even be multiple universes, but that's speculation. We don't know that for sure. That's a lot of variety. But if the purpose of this whole thing was to create life, variety of output would be expected for creation. That's how this whole thing works. We know that planets, stars, galaxies, etc. all come and go, or are selected and increased or decreased according to the same process of evolution. This is the creative process of life. But this process, which is using unintelligent objects and directing them towards a purpose, remember the arrow and the archer, must be executed by an intelligence with a purpose. We know this to be true because this is something that we observe every day in our reality. Human beings are a unique creature because not only are we a created thing within the universe, but we also have the intelligence, the consciousness, and the judgment ability that created and governs everything. What makes us intelligent is our ability to create, select, and judge things according to our purpose for them. For example, an author writes a book for a specific purpose. This could be to help or entertain others, gain influence, make money, etc. A book that serves this purpose or serves the purpose of the author is called good. Good in the sense that it is beneficial to the purpose of the author. A book that is bad, for example, doesn't help or entertain others. No one buys it. It doesn't make money, doesn't influence, doesn't contribute to the body of knowledge. It doesn't serve a purpose. Okay, so what must an author do to create a good book? Execute the creative process of an intelligent creator, which is what we've been talking about all along. This fundamental creative process of intelligence. The author writes a draft. The draft is a variety of output. The author then goes through the draft and selects what paragraphs, sentences, words are beneficial or detrimental to the purpose. Those paragraphs, sentences, words that are identified as beneficial are elaborated on, increased, or remain. And those identified as detrimental are decreased, reformed, or removed. This same process that the author applies to create a book, musicians use to create songs. This is the creative process that human beings have the ability to perform. This creative process is also being applied to us and all other things throughout the universe. We have the saying that we were made in the image and likeness of God. What does that actually mean? Well, we are intelligent creatures who create things to serve our purposes. We are constantly trying, creating variability of output, identifying, selecting, and judging what is beneficial or detrimental for us and increasing or decreasing from our lives what does and doesn't serve our purposes. Are you starting to understand that this is the creative process which is universal throughout life and creation? Our intelligence and consciousness we use to create and govern and judge things has also caused us to recognize through observation and experience that there is something applying this same process to us and all other things for its purposes. Look, God identified the light and saw that the light was good. God saw or identified and selected the water, the animals, the land, etc. And he said that it was good. Of course, this is our creation story because we have observed that this is precisely how things are created. Creation has laws, variety of output. Things are pruned, increased, or decreased, identified as good, bad, etc. But most importantly, it all seems for a purpose. That purpose for some 14 billion years has been to create life, and then conscious life, which is us. Here we are right now. Your purpose is to identify what characteristics, skills, and interest that you bring to the table in order to contribute to this evolutionary plan. When it comes down to it, we can see that in order for our psychological and mental state to operate properly, we need to be striving toward a purpose. We were wired and designed to fulfill a purpose, and we experience the rewards both internally and externally when we move toward our potential in executing that purpose. Also, and importantly, it allows us to stand firm against the negative and malevolent aspects of life like anxiety, depression, drug use, lack of sexual self-control, etc. We avoid the existential vacuum which we as a society seem to be stuck in. Finally, we can see that everything, this universe and the world that we live in and everything within it, serves a purpose, and the mechanism that created and governs it all ensures that it operates accordingly, the same way that we ensure that the things that we create serve our purposes. It is your duty and obligation in this one life that you get here on earth to find what you were made for and bring it to the table so that you can contribute to creation and the evolution of life and humanity. When you do this to the best of your ability, you make the world a better place. Your responsibility is to make the world better because you lived. The world falls short in the precise measure that each and every one of us fall short in the work that we were made to do and the person that we were made to be. You are needed. And as you can see, like everything else throughout the universe and creation, you have a purpose.